Can you see what I have in the car? So anyway, thank you for subscribing to this website. Hello, welcome back to All Things Gumball. Today what I want to do is I want to go out looking for locations. I got a phone call. How are you guys doing today? I'm having a great day today. A couple of things I want to talk to you about. A friend of mine who is in the vending business, he's in the big snack and Coke machine business. He doesn't do the gumball machines like I do. And he called me up, or he texted me, and he gave me 3 or 4 locations, 3 or 4. He said 3 are pretty much guaranteed. 1 is not a guarantee. He said I'd have to call them and talk to them. You know, it's kind of a warm contact, if you will. It's not a cold call. Cold call just means that you go out and knock on the door and you don't know anybody inside the business. That's what a cold call is. Warm is that you get a little introduction. You know, maybe your brother knows somebody or whatever. Well, it wasn't really a phone call. It was a text. It was a text on my phone from someone that I met at the bank. When you are cashing in your coins, if you go to the bank, look for other people that are cashing in coins. A lot of times there are people that do what you do. There are people that do vending for a living. So, I've got 3 machines in the car. I don't know if you can see. There's 2 there, 2 in the back and 1 here on my passenger seat. And the thing is, I've never been to either of these 2 locations. My camera's rocking. Okay, I've never been to any of these 2 locations. It's still rocking. Okay. I've never been to any of these 3 locations, so I don't really know what it is going to be like. I don't know what to expect. I've got the machines ready to go. I don't want to sit there in the parking lot and fiddle and fuss and try to fill up the machine while I'm there. The thing is, to be honest, when you find a location, try to get into the location, try to get out fairly quickly. Give the people less opportunity for them to start evaluating and question, second guessing themselves. They may be second guessing. I don't know why I said question. They may be second guessing themselves as to whether or not they want to have the machine there. So if you have it ready to go, drop it off and just book. Get out the door, okay? So I've met a couple people over the years. And this guy, I gave him my phone number, and he does Coke machines and snack machines. And he was talking to me about a couple of locations that are asking for snack machines. And he says that there's not enough people that go there. There's not enough customers or employees or both that go there that warrant him putting in a snack machine. But he's got a Coke machine there. You may say, well, it's better to have a conversation and chit-chat with the people and get to know them and be friendly and all that. In some cases, yes, I'll agree to that. So I've got 2 4 selection machines. I've got 1 3 selection machine. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive by all 3 of those places, go inside before I decide what machine to put where. Also, they're already filled with candy. I don't want to have to fill them up, as I said, when I get there. I don't want to fill them up when I get there. I just want to drop them off and get out of there. When you are out looking for locations, there's a couple of ways you can find locations. You can hire somebody and they'll charge you $50, or you can do what I call walking and knocking. You know, you find an intersection that has, 50 businesses in that intersection, north, south, east, west, and you just go out, park your car at that intersection somewhere at a gas station or a 7-Eleven or something, and you start walking around and knocking on doors until you hit as many of those locations as you can. The reason you don't want to fill them up in the summertime, because when you're driving around in a hot car or you park somewhere, the car gets very hot very quickly. So in the summertime, you can of course leave them in a cooler. In the wintertime, you can leave them in the car. In the car, right now it's probably like 75 degrees in my car, so I think the candy will be safe for a while. Now, I wanted to say this about the vending business. When you're out looking for locations, there's 2 ways you can go about looking for locations. You can go knocking on doors That's why I call it walking and knocking. Always remember to bring a vending machine with you, or two. And if it's not hot, you can fill up the machine, so you don't have to fill them up there in the parking lot or in their store. You can just grab it out of the car. It's already filled up, and then you just drop it off and you take off, okay? So that's called walking and knocking. Another thing you can do is you can get on the telephone. You can pull up a map on Google Maps, and you could look for locations on the map. And of course, once you see those locations, you will see phone numbers for those locations and their websites normally. And you can just call. I have found that when you call, it's a little, you're more likely to get people saying no to you. It's easier for people to say no to you on the telephone than it is in person. So in person, you might talk to 9 or 10 people and you get one person say yes and 9 people say no. Maybe 10 people say no. If you call people on the telephone, you're probably going to get more of a larger selection of people saying no to you. I think it's about 15 or 16 that will say no and 1 will say yes. Another way you can do it is you can open up the internet, sit at your desk, open up the internet, get on the phone, and just start calling numbers on the internet. What you do is you find, go to Google Maps, and look for a street that you like. Let's say here in Dallas, Forest Avenue is a really good street. It has a lot of mom and pop businesses. And you start looking at businesses that are on Forest. Let's say you start at Highway 75 and you go east. But you don't have to drive as much. You don't have to walk as much. Let that be the thing that guides you as to whether or not you want to knock on doors walking or knock on doors by calling. And you just start calling all of the businesses that are east of Highway 75 and make notes, because you're not going to remember where everything is that you've called. Make a lot of notes. Where did you start? What road did you start on? Which direction did you go down in your mind on the computer? Are you going this way on the computer? Okay, or are you going this way on the computer? If this is Forest and this is Highway 75, which way did you start? If you started here on Forest, and here's the Highway 75, and you're heading this way, make a mental note. I went east, or I went west, or whatever. And then the first place I went to was ABC Automotive, or XYZ Tile, or XYZ Carpet Store, whatever. Just what you're doing is you're calling, okay? And so make notes of everything. Who did you talk to? What did they say? Did they say yes? Did they say no? Did they say maybe? Did they say call back? Did they say talk to Joe? Did they give you a corporate number? Did they give you an email? So I don't know what to expect. I've got the machines ready to go. They're filled with candy. Today's not a hot day. It's a warm day. It's about 60 degrees outside. And you can keep the car or the candy in the car, in the vending machines in the car. The heat is not going to bother the candy machine, or the heat will not bother the candy in the vending machines. Normally on a day like a hot summer day, I'm going to keep the candy in a cooler so that the candy doesn't get too hot. Make notes, okay? Now the thing about going in person is you get to see the place. You walk in the door, you look around, and you can see whether it's a place that you really want to be at. Maybe it's a dump. Maybe it's just full of garbage. Maybe it just looks like they're about ready to leave the location at any moment. They're almost packed up and ready to go, and if you put your machine there, maybe the next time you come back to visit, it's going to be gone. Okay? So when you walk into a location, you can get a feeling of whether or not this might be a good location. Are there a lot of people coming and going? Are there a lot of employees? Can you tell? Oh, look, I can see 20 employees way back there. That may be a really good location. When you're on the phone, you can't really do that. Another thing about being on the phone versus being in person. Let's say you're in person, it's harder for people to say no to you in person because they're looking right at your face. Over the phone, it's easier for people to say no to you. I always tell people that when you go out door to door, walking and knocking, you're going to get 9 people say no, 1 person says yes. That's about the average that I've found. If you're calling people on the phone, you're going to get about 15 people say no, and 1 person says yes. So you get different odds. I just dropped off one machine at the first location, and I didn't really scope it out before I went in there. I drove up to the door and I saw it was a fairly small business, and I realized there's only one way in and out. And I knew that if I were to go in and scope it out, they may be wondering what I'm doing. So I grabbed the machine and I just threw it over my shoulder and walked in. And as soon as I saw the people that worked there, they gave me a look and they said to me, no. And they said they have a machine already, a gumball machine. The gumball machine had two selections. It had gumballs and I think it had runts in it. And the items that I put in my machine are not those. I put plain M&Ms, jelly beans, Reese's Pieces, and Skittles. And I did not put in what they had, so I'm not competing with them, so I'm not going to make them angry. Somewhere down the road, they may want to put in what I'm putting in, but, you know, we'll deal with that bridge when we cross it, or we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But when I brought it in, I had it over my shoulder, and I walked in the door, and two of the guys looked at me, and they kind of gave me this look like, no, we've already got a vending machine. And I told them right away, I said, well, Buddy sent me. And as soon as I said the name Buddy, then they're like, oh, okay. So Buddy is the guy that gave me the text and told me where to go. So that was kind of nice of them. And he was even telling me that the other machine doesn't get very much traffic. So there's not much candy being sold on the other machine. I have 4 selections on that spot, or in that spot. So hopefully my sales will be a little more than the other guy, because I've got 4 things that people want, and the other guy only has 2 things that maybe people want. Anyway, so as I was saying, as I was saying earlier, when you get, if you were to call a company that finds you locations, and let's say they're in another city, they're far away. Let's say you live in California and they're in New York. They can make phone calls for you on the internet. They can make phone calls and use the internet to find these locations for you. They don't have to be there knocking on the doors. You don't really know. Okay, so once you get the location, let's say they call you up or they text you or send you an email and they say, these are the new locations we're sending you. You don't know anything about the location. You have to drive all the way over there, and then you have to decide whether or not you really want it. When you go out knocking on doors, you don't have that problem. You walk in, you glance around, you can kind of see what you're dealing with. And if you don't really like it, you can still ask them if they'd like a vending machine, just to get over the negativity of the people saying no to you. And if they say yes, leave the building. If you have a vending machine in your car, you can bring it in, or if you don't have one, you can go pick it up at your storage unit or your garage or your basement or your closet or whatever. And by the time you grab it, you may say to yourself, that place was kind of a dump, or it looks really small, or it looks crammed, or whatever. It looks kind of sketchy or ghetto. You may say, I don't really want to put that in there. So that's the benefit of knocking and walking. So, all right, I'm going to head off to the next location. I've got 2 more machines to drop off. And we'll catch you then. We'll catch you after that. All right, I'm done for the day. We got 3 locations. I got 3 new machines out. I got 2 4-headed machines and a 3-headed machine, or what you call canisters. I got 11 heads out today. I got 11 canisters out today. So 3 locations. And the thing is, the person who called me to give me these locations, he didn't really set it up with them in advance, and I just kind of showed up unexpectedly. They were really kind of giving me a look like, what are you doing here? So I did get them in. A couple of the places that I brought the machines to, 2 of the locations, they looked at me like, what are you doing here? We got to run this by corporate. And I just said, well, can I leave the machine here and call me if it's not okay? And they said, okay, that's fine. So it was a little kind of touch and go there for a little bit, but I did get 3 machines out today, so I'm happy. And I'll let you know how that goes. Anyway, I hope these videos help you guys with your vending business, and I'll catch you on another video. Have a good evening, have a good morning, or have a good afternoon.